Hello, everybody. We're open tonight for fun and so glad to see you here. Thought that would be appropriate for this particular show of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast where we talk about the solo Beatles careers, sometimes to talk about the Beatles when there's product out to discuss, like some of the deluxe sets and whatnot. And I'm Joe Mayo. You may know me from my YouTube channel, Me and Mr. Mayo. And we got a really good shoe for you tonight. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a fun one, I predict. But before we get into all that, let me introduce my co-host. We're going to start today with someone who has a long 40-year career in the Beatles. He has a syndicated radio show. You probably know him by now. It's called Every Little Thing, the show. And he has a Things We Said Today podcast on the Beatles, and also has a YouTube channel called Ken Michaels Radio. I'm talking about the man himself, Ken Michaels.
Hi, Joe. Hi, everybody. Might I make a little adjustment there to something you just said?
Did I make a mistake?
No. Well, there's no way you would have known about this, but this Friday will make 41 years since I started doing my radio show.
41 years.
Every little
Gotta write that
thing
down.
for 41 years.
41 years of Every Little Thing. Incredible.
And
Well,
by now you have played every little thing, I would imagine.
yeah.
I'm still working on the 2 tracks on electronic sound, but I haven't, gotten around to that yet.
Well, I think that's why maybe subconsciously this time I put you first, because maybe I knew subconsciously there was something like that.
I think you
going on.
knew. I don't know how
Something
you
like
knew,
that.
but you knew.
And next up, we have one leg of the 2 legs Paul McCartney podcast. We're talking about that Arizona guy for now, anyway, Tom Hunyadi. Hey, Tom.
Hello, Joe, Kit, Ken, and this is gonna be a fun one. Every once in a while it's nice to, do something fun where we can have a couple laughs or a couple arguments. Who knows how this one's gonna go?
Har, har, hardy, har. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this time, saving the best for last, I have the Sun Queen herself. Books are Michael Jackson, FAQ. You have Songs We Were Singing, guided tours through the Beatles' lesser known tracks. You have Fandom and the Beatles. You have her other podcast, The Toppermost of the Poppermost. I'm talking about Kit O'Toole. Hey, Kit.
Thank you, sir. Hello, Tom. Hello, Ken. Hello, everybody out there. This is going to be a fun night tonight. I've been slaving over this list. And
it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Really?
No.
What was hard for me were the top 3. That was the but everything else wasn't too hard.
Wow.
What we're talking about here is we're going to be trying to rank our favorites of the 16 solo number 1 Beatles songs. Now, there's a few things here that we want to clear up. First of all, this is just the Beatles' own solo recordings. It's not with other people. Like, for example, Fame, Lennon took part in with David Bowie. It's not a John Lennon record, for example, things like that. And then if you want to talk about this, we were talking before the show about it's tricky sometimes with like double sides and things like Ken, you were saying about an example with My Sweet Lord, for example.
One of our fans wrote to us about this, saying, what about Isn't It a Pity? Because it was a double-sided hit with My Sweet Lord. And it gets really complicated. As you probably know, I love studying the charts and everything. But for most of the rock era, the first 2 decades of the rock era, we had double-sided hits where both sides charted separately on their own. That was a very common thing. All the Beatles singles, or most of the Beatles singles in America, up until Come Together and Something, had chart lives of their own. They all peaked in different positions, the A side and the B side, or it could have been a double A side. A lot of Elvis Presley singles, both sides charted separately. And things kind of changed when Come Together and Something was released. Originally, when it first came out, both sides of the single charted separately. And then Billboard started this brand new rule that you can't do that. They have to be listed together. And for that reason, and this gets kind of confusing because we talk about the Beatles One compilation a lot here, which was a listing of all the US and UK number 1 singles. But as we discussed a few shows back, the last number one in the UK for the Beatles was the Ballad of John and Yoko. But here in the US, Come Together and Something hit number one, as did Let It Be. But how do you, it's confusing with Come Together and Something. Are they both number one songs? Because they didn't chart separately. They just became, in the middle of their chart run separately, a double-sided hit that went to number one for 1 week. And if you look them up, they both say number one. And all these years, we've been told the Beatles had 20 number one songs. Did they really have 20? Or maybe they really had 21 number one songs, if you count both sides. Now, My Sweet Lord and It Isn't a Pity was a double-sided hit. But having listened to the radio back then, and Top 40 radio and AM radio, I heard My Sweet Lord to death. I heard Isn't It a Pity a little bit. And FM radio, rock radio that was developing, was playing so much from All Things Must Pass. It was a double-sided hit, but I would never look at Isn't It a Pity as a number one song. If you look it up now, because both sides, it was listed as a double-sided hit, went to number one. I don't think of Isn't It a Pity as a number one song for that reason. But, you know, I tried to find out from, ironically, a guy who just put out a brand new book on the charts, Michael Ventrella. He has a new book that just came out last week, The Beatles on the Charts, all group and solo albums and singles ranked by popularity. And he said, yeah, it's very confusing. He can't really explain this either. I wanted to interview Joel Whitburn, who was the author of several books, all on the charts, everything that happened in every genre. He was a Billboard fanatic, and he put out all these books. I wanted to interview him recently, but then he passed away. So I would love to get an answer on how to explain all that. But I think most people, you know, if you followed the singles, if you listened to the radio, you heard My Sweet Lord constantly. Isn't It a Pity got some airplay? I'm not denying that, but I would never call that a number one record.
Right. So when a double A-side goes out and it becomes a number one, like say like with, you know, My Sweet Lord, it isn't automatic that the second A-side, Isn't a Pity, is also going to be a number one. Is pretty much what.
Well,
you're
it could be listed as number one, but it may not deserve it.
Yeah. Mark Zuckhoff also mentioned, well, we snuck in songs with Paul and Stevie Wonder and Paul and Michael Jackson. Well, but unlike Fame, you know, Fame, it was not David Bowie and John Lennon. It wasn't listed
Snuck in
like that.
No, those are on Paul McCartney records, not Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson albums. They're Paul McCartney albums.
If the name Paul McCartney is on the record, it's a Paul McCartney record.
Right.
Now, this is all a matter of technicality. The Fame could have been listed as David Bowie and John Lennon, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It only went out as David Bowie.
Yeah.
And look, Ebony and Ivory, Say, they were on Paul's albums. They were released as singles from Paul's albums. Those are Paul McCartney records.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Well,
they both were. So
I said it was going to be fun. It's going to be a fun show.
So just some clarifications.
And these are US number ones.
US only we're talking about.
US number ones.
All right. So we could have added two more songs if we went with the UK. We could have added Pipes of Peace and Mull of Kintyre.
I'll get back to you sometime, Tom, on that Pipes of Peace thing. I've been listening to Two Legs lately with you and Andy. What was it? Pipes of Peace over what? What was the other one? So anyway,
we'll talk about that later.
Watch Two Legs, and you'll see on the March Madness thing, which I know nothing about basketball. I would have been lost with this bracket stuff and everything. Just give me two songs and compare them. Which one is better than the other? I don't know about brackets and levels and things. But anyway, listen, Ken, do you have any news for us this week?
Yes, I do, Joe.
I know that's a silly question, but
hey, sometimes I'm bombarded with a lot. There isn't too much, but we'll get to it right now. We start off actually with the very sad news on the passing of drummer Jim Gordon. In the early part of his career, he was part of the elite group of studio musicians known as the Wrecking Crew. And he became a member of Joe Cocker's Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour, as well as with Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. And he joined Eric Clapton in Derek and the Dominoes, where they formed at the time of George Harrison's classic album, All Things Must Pass, and played on the Apple Jam album. He's credited as co-writer with Clapton for the song Layla, and is said to have written the piano-driven instrumental second half of the song, although this has been disputed with two members of the group saying it was actually written by Rita Coolidge, Gordon's girlfriend at the time. Gordon also played on George's recording of Try Some Buy Some on drums and tambourine, and on George's recording of You. Unfortunately, Jim had a history of mental illness, and in June of 1983, he bludgeoned and stabbed his 72-year-old mother to death, claiming that voices told him to do so. He was diagnosed as having schizophrenia, and he was sentenced to 16 years to life in prison and was denied parole multiple times. Jim Gordon died from natural causes at a California medical facility in Vacaville, California, after a long incarceration and battling mental illness. He was 77. Also from Yahoo, we learned that Shout Studios has acquired the North American rights to the music documentary Revival 69, the concert that rocked the world concerning the historic Live Peace in Toronto show that featured John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band, directed by Ron Chapman, where it just had its U.S. premiere at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. The documentary tells the story of the, quote, remarkable behind-the-scenes story of how a little-known but life-altering music festival came together against all odds. Young, scrappy concert promoter John Brower puts his life on the line literally to turn his failing Toronto Rock and Roll Revival into a one-day event. The festival united rock legends like Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Bo Diddley, and Gene Vincent with the Doors, who were, they say here, the biggest band in the world. I think that's debatable. But it was the 11th hour arrival of John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band that ignited a truly seminal moment for the 20,000 fans at Toronto's Varsity Stadium. The film will feature rare behind-the-scenes material, as well as unreleased concert footage shot by D.A. Pennebaker, who also directed the landmark Monterey Pop Festival. There are also fresh new interviews with Alice Cooper, Robbie Krieger of the Doors, Alan White, Geddy Lee, and Danny Seraphine from Chicago, and Klaus Vormann. No information yet about a theatrical or DVD Blu-ray release. Sounds very promising there.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, I hope there'll be information soon. This sounds great.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in the theaters. I'm enjoying more and more of all these events that we see for maybe just one day in the theaters. Also, this past week, there was a very special event at Carnegie Hall. The music of Paul McCartney, various artists all performing his music. People like Peter Asher and Denny Lane and Christopher Cross. And Tom, I know that on Two Legs, you had an interview with a woman who was there for the concert.
Yeah, her name is Joan Borelli, and fans of Two Legs might remember her. She was on, she did a review of the first show of the tour last year of Paul's tour. And so she came back on. She was fortunate enough to get tickets to go. Other people we know, like Tom Frangione and Mark Lapidus, was there as well. And she told us she had a great time. And she's not the biggest fan of covers, but she had a great time nonetheless. It was a interesting crew of musicians here. You got people like Bruce Hornsby, Graham Nash, Patti Smith, who did a really interesting rendition of She's Leaving Home. And she told us about this, in the song, we know that the woman that leaves a note, and she, at the end of doing the song, then she read what the note would have said to her, so it was kind of interesting, how she left off, and she left and she became successful, and she didn't feel like she was being held back anymore, so she was able to live her life, so she kind of interpreted in her mind what that note would have said to her parents. So that was kind of interesting. But heard a few things. Graham Nash doing For No One was really beautiful. Graham Nash still has a wonderful voice, in my opinion. You know, you've got people like Christopher Cross, who does these these tours doing Beatles albums, right? Ken, you've seen a couple of them, I would imagine.
He tends to always do the McCartney songs whenever I see him. He sounds great doing them.
Yeah, he did Mother Nature's Son on this one, and you know, Lyle Lovett was there as well. Denny Lane doing Band on the Run with the help of Nancy Wilson and Christopher Cross. So it seemed like it was a really good time. Wish I could have gone, and you know, it was for charity, you know, so it looked like it was a good time.
All right, very good. Okay, I'm told that the super deluxe edition of the Blu-ray audio for the Concert for George, sold as a limited edition, is now being shipped out. Also, on our last show, we learned that George Harrison's Dark Horse Records acquired the back catalog, 16 albums from Leon Russell, and one of those albums was just released, Leon's 2001 album, Signature Songs. He revisited his most classic compositions in stark piano and voice renditions. And the new reissue, which sports new cover art, premieres on vinyl, and it will also be sold on CD and in digital formats. The first of two books on Mal Evans, written by Ken Womack, Living the Beatles Legend, The Untold Story of Mal Evans, will officially be published on November 14th from Day Street Books. So the release date was pushed back from Father's Day, and now it's November the 14th. Also, some news about Peter Asher, who was just there at that Paul McCartney tribute show. He'll be reunited once again with Jeremy Clyde for a concert at the Kate in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, on a date that's very easy to remember, June 18th. Also, speaking of Peter Asher, he just produced a new album for Susanna Hoffs at the Bangles called The Deep End. It's an album of all covers, a mixture of classic rock songs like the Rolling Stones' Under My Thumb, Denny Lane's Say You Don't Mind, and Squeeze's Black Coffee in Bed, with more current artists to add to it, like Billie Eilish, Ed Sheeran, and Brandy Clark. Special thanks to Tom Brennan, the progressive rock band Tomorrow, that featured Yes guitarist Steve Howe and also Keith West, will have their 1968 self-titled and only album remastered and reimagined as Permanent Dream coming out in April. It'll be released on vinyl and CD, and it includes their cover of Strawberry Fields Forever. All right, and need I remind everybody that this Wednesday is a special anniversary, as it marks the 60th anniversary of the Beatles' first album, Please Please Me.
60.
All right.
Wow.
That's all? That's only 60 years?
Oh, yeah.
60 years. I meant 60 years, not the news. Excuse me.
That's what I thought you
meant. Well, and we have something. We're going to be talking about the Fest for Beatles fans later on. So please stick around, and near the end of the show, we'll talk about the Fest for Beatles fans that's going to be coming up at the end of the month. All right. So here we go. All right. So let's start our topic here. We got 16 #1 solo songs. We try to take them, rank them. These are favorites. I want to emphasize that. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement. We're ranking our personal favorites each. Because I know for me, there were times when I was like, I don't know, this song is technically better than that song. But no, I prefer the other song more than the technically more proficient one. So I'm going by favorites, and I assume my co-hosts are as well. And the way I would handle this is I'm thinking I'm going to go 5 at a time, like 5, a tier of each, of like the lower 5, then the middle 5, upper 5, and then we just have one round with just the #1 song.
Oh,
so we'll do
okay.
5, 5, 5, and 1 if you're playing at home. 5, 5, 5, and then 1. Save your #1 for last. All right. Boy, here we go. Oh, baby.
Should we real quick just say the 16 songs, just in case somebody and nobody knows?
Yeah, well, wait a minute. If you have them in, I have them in the order. I don't have them in chronological order. I have them in ranking order. If you want to do that.
I have them. Let me see. I think I have them in the original order that I posted them. So let me see. Okay. I can read them off if you guys want.
Yeah,
I've
this should
got
be
'em right in
prepared in
front of me.
advance, my friends.
Yeah, all right. Yes. So yes, we posted them ahead of time so you guys can play along. And I know some of you have been posting and saying, I've got my list. I've been working on it. So in case you haven't, so here's the list in no particular order. Okay, My Sweet Lord, George Harrison. Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey, Paul and Linda McCartney. My Love, Paul McCartney and Wings. Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, George Harrison. Photograph, Ringo Starr. You're 16, Ringo Starr. Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings. Listen to What the Man Said, Wings. Whatever Gets You Through the Night, John Lennon. Silly Love Songs, Wings. With a Little Luck, Wings. Coming Up, of course, live, Paul McCartney. Just Like Starting Over, John Lennon. Ebony and Ivory, Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. Say, 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 Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. And Got My Mind Set on You, George Harrison. So that's 16.
All right, folks.
Actually, that wasn't in perfect chronological order, though. But
No, it was not. No, that's what I'm saying. Completely random order.
Okay. Yeah.
Completely random order.
No, it was close.
Yep.
Very close. But I mean, Whatever Gets You Through the Night came before Listen to What the Man Said.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm twiddling my thumbs. I'm making sure everybody's done. Are we done? Are we ready? Can I announce again?
Sing the Jeopardy that
Okay. All right, folks. I hope you're playing along, and I hope you have a list so you can work at it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This time, I think I'll start with. I know who I want to start with. I got it all planned, but the people out there, you don't know. None of the three know who's going to go first, and that first person is Tom. And I'm pointing. I'm seeing a different screen on mine. By the way, I'm pointing up. There's nobody on top of me on my screen, but on this screen here on the phone, I can see what it is.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough.
Tom,
So my bottom five, and this is my list. This is just the way I feel right now. I just want to make that clear. Okay, if you've got these songs higher, that's great. I'm all for it. All these songs are excellent. But here we go. Something's got to be on the bottom, or these songs have to be on the bottom five for me. And number 16, okay, is unfortunately Got My Mind Set on You. Okay, I again loved that song when it first came out, but I just over the last 25, 30 years or so, it's just unfortunately it's still good. It's just plus you got to give them credit for taking the cover to number one. It was, especially during those days. Okay, 15. Again, very popular at the time, but it's just unfortunately not a favorite of mine anymore, and that's Ebony and Ivory. Love singing it back then, but not so much anymore, unfortunately. 14, again, another cover, You're 16, Ringo Starr. And again, it's a good track, and Ringo does it well. It just doesn't do much for me these days, unfortunately. What we got? 16, 13. Hopefully no one hates me for this. But,
I'm getting my tomatoes ready, Tom.
Yeah,
I'm getting tomatoes ready to throw.
Yeah. Say.
Yeah, getting tomatoes. Here we go.
Yeah.
Duck.
Throw one of your books at him.
Yeah.
Throw my books at him.
Again, fun song, but I don't want to say. I don't want to say it hasn't aged well, because I know we don't want to but it's all subjective. It's all what how we feel about these songs
okay. I
right
still
now. Thank you. Okay, and then last for this round, and I really wish the studio version went to number one, because I prefer the studio version 10 times more than the live version, and that's Coming Up.
Wow. Why do you feel that way? I never heard you say that.
What's that?
I never heard you say that before.
You haven't been listening to blue
No,
videos.
it's not that I don't like the live version. I just prefer the studio version over the live one. I just think it's more creative. It's more fun, and I just feel like that's just how I feel. I mean, if I think about it more, I can tell you about it more at another time. But
You
I just
have
took
to
the
have an
liberty
essay onto why
Yeah,
you don't like
I will
something.
do that. I will do that. And I'll have it ready by the fest. Okay, how about that? I'll have
Yeah, prepare it. Prepare it. All right.
But coming
Tom,
up
thanks
live is my last one for this segment.
Some people here had Mark had say at number 16, and Tom Brennan has got my mind set on you at number 16. I noticed. I'm just looking at some comments. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom. Kit, you're up next for the bottom,
Okay.
as I call it, 5.
Okay, so people are throwing virtual tomatoes in the comments, so it's my turn now. All right, so get them ready. All right, number 16, oddly enough, is for me, You're 16.
Wow.
I mean, Ringo does a nice job of covering it. It's fun, but to say that it hasn't aged well is putting it mildly. And I've never liked the song to begin with. I don't like the original, and I just I don't like it, and it's even creepier sounding now.
That's sad. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
a song.
I know, but it's creepy.
Nobody thought anything about it till recently.
I know that. I know. Back in the day, I know nobody thought anything.
And Kit,
of
by
it.
the way, Kid, it's not you. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking in general. I hear these things, not you.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. But okay, number 15, whatever gets you through the night. I've just never been insane about this song. I know it was a big hit. It's fun, and I did like the remix that came out a couple of years ago on the Give Me Some Truth set. I think it improved it a lot, but it's just never been one of my favorites. It just sounds the arrangement's kind of chaotic to me. I've just never been insane about it. Number 14, and it kind of kills me to do this, but Ebony and Ivory. I have fond memories of this song. I remember when it came out, it was so huge. I mean, it was number 1 for what, like 8 weeks, something like that. 7 weeks. Okay,
Yeah.
so 1 week off, and it was
huge.
It was huge, and I mean, you know me, I love me some Stevie Wonder, you know me. And, but it's a little bit of fatigue factor, for me. I mean, it's still exquisitely produced, but for the fatigue factor, and yeah, I mean, it probably hasn't aged super well. I had to put it somewhere, so that killed me to do, but number 14. 13, this was another one that kind of killed me to do it, but listen to what the man said. I still like it a lot.
Watching Ken's reactions.
I know, I still like it a lot. And the Tom Scott.
It's hard. I know. It's hard.
It's so hard. I had to put it, I had others I had to put in the top 10. And it was close. It was close, and I still enjoy hearing it. But there are just some others that I put in the top 10 that I just like a little better. And number 12, and you're gonna hate me for this. Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth, because there's a couple other George songs I like better. But it's a lovely song, lovely sentiment. Still enjoy hearing it, and this is not aged at all. It really hasn't. But there are others that I like a little better. So those are my first ones. So
I notice Astros Jer says, "Listen to What the Man Said" is my favorite song of all time by anyone.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, it's a great song. I mean, as I said, it killed me to have to put it out of the top 10, but there are just some others that I had to get in there. It was hard. Yeah.
These are generally good songs. I mean, these
They
are strong
all are.
songs, so
Every one of them.
Except you're 16.
we'll get to that when I turn. All right. So let's see, Ken. That leaves you for this round. Let's go. What are your lower tier 5?
Okay. You'll never hear me say the phrase hasn't aged well in
I
any of
know.
these shows.
I
I
know.
really hate when I hear that, but it
I
has no
know.
relevance to how I feel about anything. But it's kind of ironic here, but my number 16 song is You're 16. And
Oh,
unlike what you said, Joe, I find this really impossible to do because I do like every single song
I
here.
I
To
know.
me,
know
they're
you
all
do.
I
worthy
know.
of they're all worthy of being number one hits. Your 16 was executed really well. I mean, there's a lot of songs that Ringo's covered in his solo career that he does well. Your 16 is one of them. Nicky Hopkins, great piano work on there. The kazoo or the imitation of a kazoo from Paul McCartney. The whole arrangement it just worked for Ringo. And I could understand why it went to number one coming off of Photograph as a single. But still, it's just that I like the other ones here better. And number 15 has got my mind set on you. And I love the arrangement of it. Not only did he do a song that was a cover that went to number one, but it was a really obscure cover song. It was only an album cut. So just to remember that and to have that arrangement, and really got to give a lot of credit to Jim Keltner for this because he came up with that whole drum pattern that you hear at the very beginning that drives the whole song. So Got My Mind Set on You is a terrific arrangement. Was very happy that George had a number one again. Loved the few videos that he made for it, which really helped. But yeah, and of course, Jeff Lynne added such a spark production-wise to his production. I think that really helped. But still, there's always got to be the ones at the bottom. And it's, the first two ones I mentioned are the two songs that they didn't write. Maybe that says something. I don't know. Also, number 14 is coming up, Live at Glasgow. Again, I love the song. I think it works well. It's interesting that they're very different studio and live. I like the differences between the two of them. It's so quirky as a studio recording, and that's the version that John Lennon liked a lot. But there's something about a lot of Paul's songs where they work really well as live songs. And I always remember saying that about songs from Band on the Run and Venus and Mars and Wings at the Speed of Sound when Paul toured during the Wings Over America tour. Some of my favorite versions of Paul's songs are live ones. And I think that, there's a reason why the live version went to number one and the studio one didn't. I think maybe the public felt the same way about that particular song. Number 13, I love it to death. Say. Paul and Michael Jackson sounded so great together. It's a catchy song. I love the whole arrangement. You can't go wrong with George Martin producing Paul in any way. And the chemistry between the two of them was electric. I liked all three of the duets that they did together. And I know that there are some people who prefer if Paul didn't do duets and it was all just solo Paul and no other lead vocalist. I like collaborations. And when someone like Paul blends together so well with other singers, that only makes me admire him as a talent more. And Paul and Michael worked very well together. Same thing with Stevie Wonder. Number 12, I'm going to put Just Like Starting Over, which, when that single came out, I was dancing on the ceiling, man. I was so happy to be holding the first John Lennon record in 5 years. And I love it. It really has that 50s feel, very melodic. Also, if you listen to the stripped down version where he's talking at the very beginning, this is for Buddy and Elvis and Roy. And it's a blending of, a lot of that, really. And it works together so well, very melodic, and certainly deserved to be a number one song. And it's just that all these others I like more.
Can I ask real quick? Do you feel like this would have went to number one if we didn't lose Lennon?
Absolutely. I think
I
it
think
was
it
on the way to
deserved
number
it.
one.
It
The
was,
album's another story, but the single was on the way. I think he said.
yeah, I think it would have.
Okay.
And I agree with you, Joe. It was just starting to slow down album wise right before he died. Um, but it really, the reason why the album went to number one really was because of his murder. But the single very likely could have been a number one record. It was climbing the charts. It was doing very well. I think it would have.
Yeah,
But it was
do you know
also
what it
number
was
one.
before he was
I'd
killed? Do you
have
know
to
what?
check. I think it was like around. I think it was in the top 10, around
Like
number
that.
10.
Yeah, I
I'd have
think
to
that has
double check.
what it takes to be a number one.
Yeah.
I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's my opinion. Anyway, yeah, but the album, yeah, I don't know about that. Was and there's so much stuff out that year. Other songs by so many good songs and good albums. So
You could say that about so many musical periods.
Mhm.
now
Yeah.
watch my marginalizing John Lennon video after this, folks. You'll see what I mean. Here we go again. If it wasn't for him being dead, it might not have been number one. All right, here we
Yeah.
go. Anyway, so let me go now for my bottom five with no apologies. Okay, and here we go. Uh, no, like bracing anybody or anything. All right, number 16, Got My Mind Set on You, George Harrison. Just probably my least favorite of all these to begin with. But I'm not just going to say, well, it's a cover, because it doesn't matter. I've got cover songs higher here, you'll see, and stuff. But yeah, it's just maybe I'm tired of it a little bit too. It's funny, you hear "Got My Mind Set on You" all the time. At least I do in supermarkets and things. That's a song that pops up from here to here and now. Sometimes I'll be going to, I hate to say, but when they pump music into the men's room in certain diners or restaurants I go to, a lot of times I hear it. What can I tell you? Through the whole restaurant, I guess. Anyway, and I'm so glad George got a number one. I'm so happy about that he got a number
Mhm.
one at that point in his life. But it brings up the rear for me. Then number 15, I went with Coming Up, the live version, Paul McCartney. Um, when that was a number one again, I was very happy. Hey, Paul's got another number one. Terrific. And at that time, I really was not a big fan of the album version, the freaky version. I really wasn't that much of a fan. So I liked the live version better at the time. Now I think I flip flopped on that. I think, like Tom, I think I prefer the album version, silly one, sounding one, even though I do like the live one. And in fact, I think that's a really good live song. I mean, sometimes when I see him perform that, I really get into it. Uh, with the, again, the horns and all. I mean, I sometimes if he adds um, uh, that kind of pizzazz it has, I just think it's a really good, exciting, crowd pleasing song to do live. But 14 is where I placed Ebony and Ivory. You know, it's a good song. It's got a very nice sentiment to it. You can't argue with it. And calling for people to come together, so to speak. And I think they're both great on it. Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney they do a great job. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it just seems, for some reason, it strikes me a little cornier today than it did then. I don't know what it
Mhm.
is, but it's in my last five.
Mhm.
Number 13, I went with Say, Say, Say. Um, a song that I really enjoy. Also, I think Michael Jackson is fantastic with Paul on that track. Again, I love that it was a hit back
Mhm.
then, and it was a very popular song. I love the video for it. It was a very entertaining video, and it's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
It's a good song. Just where I place it in favorites.
Right.
And now to surprise everybody here, except maybe one, uh, number 12, I put Just Like Starting Over. I fooled you. Just like set you up for that one, didn't I? No, Just Like Starting Over. Why? Let's see. I remember when I first heard it, it was magic. Like Ken was saying, John was back. I thought his voice sounded fantastic. I hadn't heard him in all those years, and seemed like a lot of years. Not so much these days, but back then it was a
Hmm.
long period to be without a song or an album. And it was so good. I remember thinking it was a little lightweight for him. I was kind of surprised. I'm glad, a pop song could be a hit. It had hit potential, but yet I was like thinking, oh, yeah, kind of like lightweight for John. Nice, catchy. I get the 50s nod to it. I can hear that in there. I don't know. It's just again favorite wise. This 16. That's about where I found it falling today. Maybe tomorrow will be something else. But
Okay.
there you go, folks. We handled the first 5 there without too much problem. Okay.
It's just
So
interesting. It's interesting how we all got my mind set on you
Yeah.
pretty much near the bottom for each of us.
yeah. Okay. That was a common thread.
Hmm.
All right. Now we go to what I'm calling the middle 5. Say. Okay.
Mhm.
11 to 7. And Kit, I'm going to start with you for this.
Okay. All right. So number 11, I know this will be a little controversial, but this is personal, personal choice, personal favorites. Just out of the top 10, I lowered it, Band on the Run. And I did this because it's a great song. Don't get me wrong. It's wonderful. But personally, I am really burned out on this song. Really, really burned out. I mean, I've heard it so many times. I've been in concert, on the radio. It's just fatigue factor. That's all it is. It's a wonderful song. It really is. But I just need a little break from it. But absolutely, it's a great song. I just need a break. Now, here's the one where I'm going to differ from you guys. Number 10, got my mind set on you. I gave it a higher ranking because it has a lot of wonderful memories for me. It's a great song, first of all. Terrific cover. It's really fascinating when you hear the original, how different it is from the original. As you've all been mentioning, great production from Jeff Lynne. And it was just, I was a sophomore in high school when this came out. And, it was just, it was such a kind of a joyous time to hear him, come back. I was just really getting into the solo stuff at this point. And my friends, I was like trying to get my friends into the Beatles and all, and they were just kind of like, who's this guy? and they really were getting into him. Like they just thought, this is a great song. Hey, this is a guy I think I might be interested in his other songs. And it was just such a fun time, and it was just great to hear him come out with new music. And this was just hearing that beat come in, and it was a way that he sounded current, but it was still George. It was just such a great way to reintroduce him to not only his longtime fans, but younger fans. And I was among them. So
excuse me. I've always thought that one of the 2 videos, the video with the arcade, where the young guy is trying to win the young girl a toy with George, playing in the background. I always thought that had something to do with it.
It
That
could
being
be.
cycled around and appealing to the younger generation. That it's the catchiness of the song along with that video. I just wondered about that.
It could be, and also, of course, the other video with the that was so funny. Parts of it. I mean, when he does the flip and all that. So it was great. I mean, it just showed off his humor. Just a great time. Number 9.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I don't mean to do this. I have to though, because I'm going to forget. I want to get your opinions before you go to your next one.
Yeah.
Because Christian D here says fatigue factor shouldn't matter. Laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. And quite frankly, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what you, in my opinion, what you're ranking or what you're talking about. If you talk about favorites or how you feel at this point in time, today or this year, currently, it may change in a year or it may have been different 5 years ago. Fatigue factor is a very important thing. I guess if we're just going to discuss which are the best songs technically, forget fatigue factor, then
I'd rank it differently.
No fatigue factor.
Yeah. No, we decided to go with favorites how we
Right.
personally felt about the songs. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, if we were going strictly technical, I would obviously rank it a lot higher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, technical, a whole different list. And
Mhm.
that's why I was saying earlier, we were talking off camera one time, and I said I think people would have very similar lists, maybe the same list a lot of times.
Right.
If you're saying what are the best, rank them in order of what the best are, like the rule book, the proper
Exactly.
way. Everybody has the
Yeah.
same list then.
Exactly.
I don't think so. I think people
No.
have different opinions, no matter what.
Yep.
I always try not to let fatigue be a factor in how I rank anything.
Mhm.
Okay,
But
that's interesting.
yep. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
sorry, Kit. Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue, please.
Okay. So number, let's see. So number 9. Number 9. Just like starting over. I actually like that song a lot. Ken, you were just talking about it, and I just always, you kind of confirm what I thought, that I bet when people first heard this in 1980, I was 8 years old. I wasn't into the Beatles yet. So, I didn't get to experience this, that I can only imagine what it felt like hearing this for the first time, and hearing him come back like this. And I just think this was a great song to come back with. It wasn't as rocky, as much perhaps, rocking out as you might expect, as Joe, you mentioned. But to me, it just sounds like it. You just think, oh man, he's back, kind of reminiscing with that 50s sound, but yet he's talking about, where he is today, with his relationship and all. I just think it's a great song. Introducing everybody to his new life, but kind of reminiscing as well. And so I've always enjoyed that song. Really, really great. Let's see, number 8, Say. I'm sorry, guys. I really like this song. Also,
I'm surprised it was so low for you.
No, I wasn't going to put it number 1. No. It's just again, it brings back wonderful memories, but also it's just a damn catchy song. I mean, come on. And as you said, Ken, their voices work so well together. Wonderful video, but more importantly, I mean, I just think it hasn't aged at all. I mean, it sounds just as good today as it did in 1983. I mean, I think it has a nice combination of pop with a little R&B to it. Their voices blended so well together. I still enjoy it. So love that. And what are we going up to? Number 7? Did you say?
Yeah.
Number
Yes.
7. Okay, so one more. With a little luck. I've always enjoyed this. I've always liked it, particularly the album version, not the single version.
Well, the single does have the full length version on it.
It does
Yeah,
it? I
you should
thought,
just
'cause
say
I used the radio edit.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm thinking? Yeah,
That's
I don't
what
like
I
the radio edit. Yeah, I like the single / album version. I just it has that nice the synthesizers on it, but it's it's got that nice melody to it. It's just got it's that catchy Paul melody. He just knows how to write those that are so memorable, that catchy chorus. You just can't get it out of your head. And I mean, what he just, damn you, Paul. He just knows how to write them. So I've always been a personal favorite of mine. So those are my picks.
All righty, well done. I'm excited to hear the next person. Next being Ken.
Okay, just want everyone to know that so many of these songs you can flip-flop.
Yes.
It's not so obvious that my number 10
No.
song is so much stronger than the number 11 song. I mean, they're all winners. But at number 11, I put My Love. My Love is one of those songs, every time I hear it being played on the radio, I gotta just sing along with it. It's just such a gorgeous melody. Paul's vocals are outstanding. Of course, you got Henry McCullough's incredible lead guitar solo in there. It's a perfect pop song all the way through. Of all the ballads that he's done that were singles, well, I still think Only Love Remains is my favorite of all the ballads, but of successful ballads from him, My Love is definitely probably the best one of them. #1 for 4 weeks. Number 10, I had to put Whatever Gets You Through the Night. There's another case of great chemistry between two people, John Lennon and Elton John. Man, I wish those two did more work together because they really sound so good naturally. I love how their vocals blend on the song. If you ever listen to the earlier version of Whatever Gets You Through the Night before Elton was involved, it was slower. It still had a great groove to it. But when Elton became part of the song, he really pumped it up, and it made it a very special song. He brought a lot of energy to it. And the sax playing, oh my God, that really drives the song right there. Just love that song to death, you know. Number 9, Ebony and Ivory. Again, you don't get much better than Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder in my book. And when you got a really strong melodic song, and the lyrics are simple, but they're very effective. And I love the message of the song. I like the whole arrangement of it. George Martin, again, fantastic production. Another case of, I wish Paul and Stevie did more work together. They admire each other so much. It's really a crime that they never made an album together. But, you know, and I love What's That You're Doing. And I could certainly understand Ebony and Ivory being the first single from Tug of War. #1 for 7 weeks. That says a lot right there. And again, the two of them singing together. Love those two voices. That's all there is to it. They're two of the best in the world. Number 8, With a Little Luck. Great pop song. And I especially love the full version, you know, and I love that whole instrumental section in the middle, which adds so much. It gives a build up to the last verse of the song, and Paul in a higher vocal, stronger vocal towards the end. The way that the whole thing was arranged is just magnificent. Another, you know, simply great pop song from Paul. Number 7, I put Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. You know, this one's another gem. It's not only a great song and a great melody and the spiritual message from George in the song, but fantastic slide guitar work, which you can say on so many of George Harrison's songs. But, you know, I was very happy to see that one hit #1. I think it's an absolute gem. Every time I hear it, I just think it's, you know, one of his best. And this coming from someone who loves his album cuts so much, you know, that sometimes you get tired of the singles. That one I never get tired of. I don't get tired of any of these, really. Yeah, so we're up to 7 now, and that was it. So
that's where we cut it off.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ken. And Tom, you're up for the mid 5.
All right, the mid 5, and it starts off with the song Ken was just talking about, "Give Me Love." My favorite part of this song is, like Ken said, I mean, that slide guitar is just some of his best.
Yep.
However, I just don't think he. I think he could have sang it a little better. I mean, you guys might disagree with me on that, but
I agree.
you know, but the slide guitar is what saves that song for me. Number 10, Whatever Gets You Through the Night. You know, I like the track a lot. I do agree. I mean, you know, Lennon and Elton, I mean, if they would have done an album together, I'm sure it you know, would have sold 20 billion, you know, but again, I like it. I don't think it's the best thing that's Lennon's done. You know, you got to question whether or not it would have got released as a single if Elton John didn't come aboard on that. I mean, I don't know. But it's a fun. I love the horns on it as well. I think it's great. 9. This is probably where I'm going to get some more tomatoes. Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. I have.
Wow.
Yeah, at number 9. Again, it's creative. It's cool. I mean, it's an odd #1, I think. But it's cool that it went to #1. I think that's fantastic. I mean, you weren't hearing anything like that at that point in time, I would imagine. You know, that's, you know, during the singer-songwriter period of the early 70s. but still very creative. I love how it was actually 4 or 5 different bits that Paul's put together. It's one that we learned in the McCartney Legacy. My 8th choice, you know, I did this list when we decided we were doing this. I did this list that night, just so I can, you know, kind of, you know, marinate in my brain a little bit. And I had this song lower, and I brought it up to number 8, and it's Just Like Starting Over. You know, it's I think it's a good comeback song. Sure, maybe we wanted something a little bit more rockier from John, from that, you know, lead off single, but I think it's got enough there to, you know, I love his singing through it. I love it. You know, each day we used to make a love, you know, how he kind of was like a little Elvis impersonation there, and that second verse, I, you know, really dig that. And it's just a lot of fun. And it's, you know, no matter how many times, that's one of those, you know, non-fatigue songs. I can hear that over and over and not get fatigued with it. And my 7, like Kit, was With a Little Luck. You know, I wanted to put it a little higher, but you know, unfortunately the 6 songs I got in front of it, I love. But yeah, I love that instrumental break. I
love that too. I love it.
And then his, those rough vocals at the end, for like you said, Ken, just is the cherry on top. Yeah, it's just the cherry on top. He really does. I mean, the video is corny, but I'm not, you know, whatever. But the song itself is just pure McCartney, as they say.
Yeah, we've heard that somewhere before. Yeah. All right, so that's it. Right now it's my turn, right? Okay, thank you, Tom.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, by all means.
What don't you like about George Harrison's vocals on "Give Me Love"?
I just think they're a little rough, a little raspy, a little. I mean, I don't think they're as smooth as they could be, or as smooth as some of the songs he sang, or probably all the songs he sang on All Things Must Pass. And I just, you know, it just doesn't strike me as his best vocals that he's done.
I must make a note.
Yeah.
Okay, I never had a problem with it, but that's me.
Well, we know that going into it.
Okay.
Oh, stop. I don't mind me teasing you, Eddie. All right, folks. Now let's see. Now, number 11 for me, surprise to a lot of people, I'm guessing, is Whatever Gets You Through the Night is number 11 for me. Never been one of my favorite John Lennon songs. I'm with Kid on that. I mean, I still enjoy it enough, but it's not been a personal favorite. I do like, as Kit said, the newer mix that was done on Give Me Some Truth, bringing John a little more up. And I love Elton John. You always got to cover these things, you know. I love Elton John. You know, he's number 1 for me of the 70s for my upbringing, even more than Wings. So but I don't know. Just never been one of my favorites, but it still made it to number 11. Just on this list, this is where it goes. And as far as what Tom was saying about would it have been you know, a single or not, can't think of anything else off Walls and Bridges that would make as good as, well, number 9 Dream, which was a single. Right. There was a B-side. Was that a B-side? Or no,
it was the second single.
What You Got was the B-side of number 9 Dream. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, Beef Jerky. I'm mixed up. Trying to get them right.
Wait. But Get You Through the Night was either Beef Jerky or Surprise, I think.
I don't think Surprise.
And I think number 9 Dream was What You Got.
Tom's going.
I think.
What You Got for number 9 Dream.
Okay.
And Beef Jerky for Whatever Gets You Through the Night.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
But anyway, I think it was the most commercial, other than number 9 Dream was probably the number 1 choice, I think, for me, but to put. But Whatever Gets Through the Night was a good single choice. I always say this every time it comes up, but this is just me. I don't think I would know necessarily that it was Elton John singing with him. You know, maybe if I wasn't told, or that's just me, but. And it's definitely just me. I guarantee you on that one. But
I think I would have known without being told at the time.
I mean, the voices, it's not well mixed. It's not, to me, it's never been well mixed anyway. Well, at least for John's sake, it never was. Now it is. But you gotta have John up front on the John Lennon record. Has to be John Lennon up front, I think. Now, this song, next one, made it all the way to number 10. You're 16. And the reason that I put it so relatively, I guess, high, you know, is because I think Ken was describing my feelings on it pretty good. It's just a good, I think, in my opinion, good single. I think it's a good rendition. I like it much better than the original. And I don't say that about every single cover, but I like it better than if it comes on corny though it may be, or not proper these days or whatnot. I still get a kick out of hearing it, and everybody else that plays along on it, and Paul's kazooie thing that he does, and everything. Everything about it, I kind of enjoy. And Ringo is in his element with it. It's very Ringo. It fits Ringo very well.
Hmm.
I love the arrangement and everything. All right. Number 9, I put My Love. I think My Love gets shots at taken at a lot of people these days. I don't know. I just think it's a really good song, a good pop song, good commercial song. And I also think that it's underrated in the sense that a lot of fans put it down and say, and I keep thinking because like maybe the whoa, whoa, whoas and all of that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
Paul's always done things kind of like that. And to me, it might have fit as a Beatles song, too, if you want to go there. I don't see that it's that different from anything he would have done.
Hmm.
Um, Number 8 may be a shocker for some. I put Band on the Run at number 8, and it's get ready for this, Christian. Mostly fatigue factor. I mean, yeah, I'm with Kid on there. Man, and you could really, oh boy, gently tarnish a song's power if you keep playing it. And I keep thinking of songs like by Tom Petty, like Free Fallin' or something. How much when I first heard that album, Full Moon Fever, how much I loved Running Down a Dream and Free Fallin'. And it was like I still like the songs, but when like the Hotel California syndrome. I mean,
Hmm.
they just play it a lot, or one of these nights or something, and it's still a good song, but somehow it makes you feel like, oh, this again, which I
Yeah.
Band on the Run is probably close to the best song on here in a technical way. If I was going to pick like what's the best song,
Hmm.
but I have another contender for that for later on. So that's number 8, and then number 7, I close here with George Harrison's "Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth." I love that song. I like the spiritual message. I love the slide guitar. I like George's voice in the song. I would say that I don't think, in my opinion, and maybe you'll agree, it's arguable. George didn't have the best voice as far as the Beatles were concerned. I mean, not like Paul or John, maybe. But and I like where his voice was at when he did Cloud Nine. I think that was at its
Yeah.
best, that album. And there's a little kind of like that whiny thing, that he does here and there. But I'm okay with it. I think it suits the song. It just fits. It works
Hmm.
for me in that song. Everything about that song works for me. I'm kind of feeling like maybe I should have even had it up higher, because I really like it that much. But
Okay.
that's it. All right.
Right.
Ta-da!
All
Now
right.
we're
We're getting closer. No pun intended.
that's what the man said. Listen to what he said. All right. Now we're gonna go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and we're gonna leave one out till the end. And I got to make sure because the way my list is here, I don't want to say my first one. But stop me at 2, will you, when I get there? Because I
Yeah.
say number 1. Of course, I'm making a dark line.
This is
All right.
serious business.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Ken. Let's start with you for the upper 5 at number 6.
All right. Kind of interesting here, since I've written down everybody's choices, is that we're going to be very similar in our top 6. Not
Oh.
exactly with everybody, but it's
Right.
kind of it's kind of ironic here. But I will start number 6 with "Listen to What the Man Said," which I've always loved from the get-go. First listen, great melody, great hook, everything you could ever want in a top 40 hit. And the first time I heard it, and again, kind of like Whatever Gets You Through the Night, the sax part is so important. What Tom
Yeah.
Scott played, the solo in there. And you know, that hook. Da, 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 da. I love the way the song ends when it slows down and you got the strings on there too. And I love all the lush harmonies with Linda and Denny in there. It's everything you'd ever want as far as a song with great hooks, tailor-made. As soon as you hear it from the get-go, it's a hit record. It's a perfect pop song. That's all there is to it. Number 5, I put Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey, which is a song that I always loved it, but I look at it as being such a masterpiece. And we talked about this so many times here on this show, how Paul has this knack of stringing together all these shortened songs, putting them together all as one, and it all flows together like he wrote it that way in the first place.
Mhm.
It all sounds so effortless. The vocals on here are just absolutely amazing. You know, the chorus, Hands Across the Water, all that stuff. It's really a masterpiece of a song. And just like you can talk about medleys that he's done, like Red Rose Speedway or songs on Abbey Road, that kind of thing, he just has that knack for putting together, you know, these bits where it just sounds like it's all one song from the very beginning. And it's absolutely brilliant. Love the whole trumpet bit. Everything about it. It really is just, yeah, it's a masterpiece, no doubt about it. Number 4 song is Silly Love Songs. What did I just say about all these different sections and songs? And it goes on simultaneously, how they sing these parts of the songs together. I always love the whole brass bit. And you know, I love the statement in there of what Paul was saying, since people were making fun of him for writing silly love songs. And here he goes again, and he has not only a number 1 hit, but the number 1 song of 1976. And you know, great vocals, great harmonies. It's all the elements that I love the most. Melodies, lyrics are important, although I've always been more a melody person. Great vocals, great harmonies, great arrangement. Everything you put all that together. You know, Paul was certainly on a roll with hits in the 70s. Number 3, I put Band on the Run. Again, another song there with all these different sections bridged together. And you know, I haven't really gotten tired of it, surprisingly. I just wish that there were other songs from that era that would get similar airplay. Like I think Venus and Mars Rock Show deserves it.
Yes.
You know,
For
just
sure.
as much as Band on the Run does. But for some reason, that song has endured, and rock radio is still playing it quite often. It's still his most successful album to date, in terms of where it charted, being number 1, although he had many number 1 albums, but staying on the charts for a couple of years. And it's brilliant. Everything about it is. And number 2, My Sweet Lord.
I know what number 1 is.
Interesting.
Well, you can you can
Don't
figure
say
it out this and that. But My Sweet
Yeah.
Lord is such a great song.
Yep.
I mean, even though we could see George developing into a greater and greater songwriter towards the end of the Beatles, he just burst on the scene with All Things Must Pass. And My Sweet Lord, despite the lawsuit with He's So Fine, which, you know, when I heard My Sweet Lord, I never associated the two together. I can understand the similarities, but there's so many things that are different about both songs. And the hook in there, the da 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 da, and the slide guitar part, and the wall of sound, and all those incredible harmonies from the George O'Hara singers, which is supposed to be all George.
Right.
It's so brilliant. I mean, it's not just, even though I think the song is far more important than the production on My Sweet Lord is outstanding. You know, it's and don't get me wrong, I love hearing him live in the concert for Bangladesh doing it, live in Japan, but nothing beats the sound of My Sweet Lord in the studio.
Agreed.
George doing it.
Wow.
It's masterpiece again, masterful. Everything about it. You put all those elements together. Phil Spector was the ideal producer at that time for George Harrison. He, you know, the songs are great. I'd love those songs even without Phil Spector, but Phil Spector made the whole record better with all that he added to it. And I could say that about so many of the songs on All Things Must Pass. There's no way, if I ever hear My Sweet Lord on the radio, I just got to stop what I'm doing and not only sing along with it, but just soak it all in, because it's a great experience. It is
me
just
too.
a great song. Yeah.
It's funny, yeah. It's one of those songs. Yeah, that's interesting too. Like a good topic sometime. Like I don't know, maybe songs that you when you hear it on the radio, it's still fresh and you still like it. As much as you say, we say, oh, we hear this so much, whatever it might be, on the radio, and maybe we're getting a little bit of tired of it, fatigue. There are other songs like that one, that I can always hear it. There's some songs like that too. Like I never gets tired to me.
Yeah.
But all right, Ken. All right, thank you very much. And now we're going to move to Tom. Tom, for we'll call upper five.
Okay. Number 6. If he wasn't a Beatle, this is what I think the headline would be when that unfortunate day comes. Paul, Band on the Run, passes. I think this is arguably his greatest achievement in a single. I just think this is fantastic. The work that him, Denny, Linda, and then Jeff Emmerich put into this song. I think it's just it's top notch. But yeah, unfortunately there is that fatigue factor, unfortunately, because this is a masterful song. I mean, every bit about it is just perfect. I'm sure Denny Sywell will disagree about the drumming, but
it's amazing that Paul pulled off with that.
Amazing. Absolutely, right. But I mean, it's just a perfect song, and it's just unfortunate that sometimes that fatigue factor does sink in. But I truly understand how important this song and album was for his career. There you go.
I had to do that.
5. Ken said it, perfect pop song, and it's Listen to What the Man Said. This is no matter how simple this song, I don't care how simple this song is. I just love the love is fine for all we know, for all I know, our love will grow. The music wise, it's perfect. And yeah, the verses are really simple, but it's catchy. Soldier boy kisses girl, leaves behind a tragic. I mean, it's just so simple but perfect, and everything flows for the song. His vocals, I think again are top notch. Again, Ken, you talked about the live aspect of it and how sometimes the live renditions are better than the studio. I might agree with that on this case. I love the live version of this one too. I love when he goes, whoa, the woes, and when he does it, and that during that 76 tour, I just thought that was really good. Or again, I think is another perfect Paul ballad, and it's My Love. I'll take the whoa woes all day long.
Yeah.
So will I.
Unapologetically as well, like Joe said earlier.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. The Henry McCullough solo, fantastic. The vocals, I'm glad he kind of changed it from when they were doing it in those early Wings tours, when Linda was repeating My Love after Paul would say My Love. I don't know if anybody out there has heard that, but go check that out, those early Wings tours, because he was doing that during the Wings over the first tour in '72, the Wings over Europe, I believe it was. And he was doing it, I mean, all these songs he was doing, nobody knew what they were. He was doing all these new songs, and My Love was one of them. And you had to wait a year before you actually got it on an album.
That's right.
3, Photograph. Just, everything that went into this song. Ringo's vocals are fantastic. The instrumentation, the arrangement, whatever. I mean, everything is perfect on this song. This might be his greatest song, period, in my opinion. I don't think it gets any better than Photograph for me when it comes to Ringo Starr. Number 2, I'm not a spiritual person, I'm not a religious person, but when I hear My Sweet Lord, it just takes takes me away to somewhere else. Like Ken, you just stop what you're doing. It's an event. So when you listen to the song, the opening, acoustic riff, then you're going into the slide guitar, into that, and then into the vocals, the build up, the drumming build up when that comes in halfway through the song. It's just, oh man, it's
You're changing my mind. You're changing my mind on some of these.
It's a perfect, and real learning that all those backing vocals are George just overdub of just George just blew my mind. It's just wow.
Imagine all the work he put into that.
Yeah. And you hear it. You hear it in that song. You hear all the work. And it's perfect. So number 2, My Sweet Lord.
Wow. I don't know. I'm wondering about my list, but then again, I got to remember, I'm not going to change it. I'm going to keep what I have. All right, Kit, you're up now for your upper 5.
Okay, well, some of them have been mentioned, but number 6 is Photograph. I think I agree with you, Tom. This is one of Ringo's best. Just a great sort of pop rock song, clever lyrics, great arrangement. Ringo sounds fantastic here. I mean, this just, suits his voice perfectly. Just an all around, I mean, no matter who's singing it, it's not just that Ringo's singing it. It's just a great song. It's just hit written all over it. Number 5, it's gotten a lot of love, so I'll add to it. My Love, one of my all-time favorite Paul ballads. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love someone in the comments mentioned earlier that it used to drive his mother crazy because My Love does it good. Just the grammar, but yes, it had incorrect grammar, but that's okay because it was just. I just thought that was hilarious. But beautiful song. Yeah, the whoa woes, didn't bother me at all. And and the guitar solo, the Henry McCullough guitar solo.
Yeah.
Jimmy McCullough did a great job too on that solo on tour. Just one of Paul's best, I think, and such a heartfelt vocal as well. Number 4, I'm going to give this song some love. Coming Up. I love Coming
good.
Up. And I'm with you, Ken. I like the live version better. The studio's good too. But I do love the live version. I think it's just got such energy to it. And you know how I feel about horns, folks. I love the horns. You gotta have the horns, and that is one of the songs that when he does it in concert, I don't get tired of it.
Yeah, me either.
That song is meant to be done live, and it always goes over. Always. Number 3, Silly Love Songs. Just what you were saying, Ken. And also, boy, did Paul get his revenge, didn't he, with this song?
It's beautiful.
I mean, what revenge? But it's just a great. So just again, Paul knows how to write those hooks, and also, how about that bass line? That's some of Paul's best bass playing on that. I mean, the bass is just crucial. And again, got those horns, as you were mentioning. Just a classic song. And number 2, this is a song that really has grown on me over the years. Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. I remember the first time I heard this, when I was really getting into the soul years, I thought, what the hell is this? What is this about? I just thought it was so weird, But as I've gotten older and wiser, I've realized, you're right, Ken, it's a masterpiece. I mean, it is just so creative, and it's funny. It's just technically brilliant. It's kind of interesting that it was a number 1 because it is so different, and it is so unusual. I mean, it didn't sound like anything on the radio back then. Doesn't sound like anything on the radio now. But it's just so well done. Yeah. It really is. And it's just, one of those songs that as soon as I hear it come on, I've got to listen to it. It's like a story. that takes you on. I love it. Yep.
Especially if you catch it from the opening.
Yep.
Right at the beginning.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kit. I tell you, wow. Yeah, it's my turn, but I'm looking at my list. I'm thinking, wow.
No,
No, I'm
don't
not changing
change
it. I'm
it.
not changing it. I'm not going to change it.
No cheating.
I'm doing it just the way I have it. Okay. Uh, for number 6, I went with a little luck. And one of the things that's going to wind up being a common here, I think, for a lot of these for me, I'm going to tell you from the beginning, has to do with sentimental songs and growing up and stuff like that. A big factor in my favorites here. I just love with a little luck. We were, where I was at the time when it came out. I remember it in the summer. I don't know if it came out in the summer, but I remember it in the summer when I really liked it. I'm trying to remember now exactly, but
Spring to summer.
It has to do. We used to go to this the Jersey Shore, and and they always tell this story. I'm sorry, some of them people are sick of it, and we used to go on the boardwalk and play the games and everything. And I mean, you all explained these songs already so well. That's one of the good things this time about going last is that you said it all already. I don't know what else there is to say. No, I love it. It's a good pop song. Paul knows how to write them. He was still doing it with gusto back in '78. I love it. So anyway, number 6. Then number 5. Yeah, now it was hard. It really was hard to do the top 5. I'm sure for all of you, but how this wound up at number 5, I don't know. But instead of better, even. But that's where I put My Sweet Lord. I mean, because I'm trying to do again by like favorites. What I like the most right now these days. I mean, I love My Sweet Lord. You guys said it so well. Everything about it. If it's on the radio, again, especially from the beginning, to catch it right as it's starting. Oh yes, going into My Sweet Lord, crank it up, not a problem. The changes in the song, the drums kicking in and everything. I love it. George's the harmonies that he does for himself, the chants and everything. It's a great record. The production is perfect. I agree. To me, the record is more splendid than any other version, even though other versions live may be good. I love hearing Billy Preston doing it, a concert for George, but
Oh
and
yeah.
so forth. But boy, though the record, I love the record of My Sweet Lord, and this is the first one that I think I had as a child. I mean, I know I had it. I don't think I had the 45 on the Apple, and I forget. I might have purchased it myself. I'd be only like 8 years old then, something like that. That's one of the first singles I remember buying. Yeah, My Sweet Lord.
Hmm.
Number 5, and then 4. And this made it a little higher for me. I think. Listen to What the Man Said, which is becoming like one of my all-time favorite McCartney songs. It's Wings, but Paul. Um, and again, anytime, any day that it comes on, I love it. I get that on the radio. These are all in common. These radio songs. Oh, great! Here it is. Listen to What the Man Said. Crank it up. I have a story that I tell sometimes. Now, tell me that was. I don't know exactly. Was this on Wingspan? It included on that.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was.
Okay, good. Then I got my story accurate. Sometimes you get the time and place things different. But I remember, I think
it wasn't on Wings Greatest.
No.
Was
I know
problem.
that. I know that.
Yeah.
That was the only flaw with that.
Yeah.
But on Wingspan, around that time, one of the last, I guess, the last days of Tower Records, I was in a Tower Records store, and Wingspan just came out. I guess it was, and that was cranking on the store system. And I always loved it, but boy, I never liked the song more than that time when I was browsing the records and hearing that on the system they had throughout the whole store. It was loud. And it's the first time I really heard Paul going along with it. He's like doing it himself. And I thought, but this is a clear mix where you hear Paul like going along with it. But no, he always did that. But I don't think I really recognized that he was kind of like, musing along with it or humming along with it and whatnot. And I really loved it. That's such a great pop song. I love Linda's soothing voice when she comes in. I love Linda on the Wings songs. Always said she was such an asset. Her voice and the harmonies, part of Wings sound.
Mhm.
And it's really great there. Now, I have 3 and 2. Well, I'm not doing 1 yet, but
No.
the top 3 were near impossible. I won't slip up. Remind me. But I couldn't think of the order of these three because I'm like, all right, I'll go into it. Photograph, I picked at number 3. It was nearly number 1 at one point. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know. It'll blow everybody away to have a Ringo song at number 1. And was that really? I think that might be the best song. If we're going to talk about what's the best song on this list, I might say Photograph, believe it or not. But there's so many fine songs. But for favorites, I think I made it number 3. I mean, again, I definitely bought the single with him, the picture sleeve in '73. Yeah, I bought the 45. That's when I was really starting to get the stuff. Didn't think of them so much as like, well, I got to complete the collection or anything like that. It was just the radio. It was the new song by Ringo from the Beatles. Oh yeah, Ringo from the Beatles got a great song, and you bought it with that great picture of him with his starlight in the star with the aluminum foil
I
on
love
there.
that.
Oh yeah.
What a great song! What great memories! '73. What a great year, and so forth. Yeah, great memories. It's so well recorded. It's
Did a
just
show on
right.
it.
But well, Ken has. Well, somebody hasn't talked about it, but sorry. But it's recorded so right. I think usually I don't like when they take a voice and put it too far in the back or something. But Ringo's just right on there. I
Yeah.
think to me, I love the recording of it, production of it. All right, now here's number 2. I didn't know what order to put these in. Really had a hard time. But this song was going to be number 1 for the longest time until I finally came to do the show and just before I changed it. All right. Silly Love Songs was almost going to be number 1 for people. And people would say, how in the world is Silly Love Songs number 1 of all these songs to you? Well, it's 2 now. As I settled on it, I said, okay, 2. Again, it's memories. It has to do with when it was a hit in '76. Has to do with the summer. I tell the same stale story. Next thing you know, I'm going to be talking about how I wrote yesterday. It's like I
He
just
dreamed
remember
yesterday.
going to my mother taking us kids to Rockaway Beach in the summer. The radio on. You heard "Got to Get You Into My Life" in '76. I thought it was a Beatles song, a Wings song. Excuse me. I didn't know it was a Beatles song yet. But Silly Love Songs was everywhere. And it just evokes those feelings for me. A lot of people are down on the song Silly Love Songs these days. They don't I don't think they get it really. I don't think they really get the idea how brilliantly Paul attacks the critics, sticks it to them, and he says, well, what's wrong with that? I'd like to know. Here I go again. And the song, and then he doesn't say, I love you like the mountains of Olympus. He sings this as, I love you, I love you. Just, that's how I always took it. Like, okay, there's a love song for you. How basic can you get? And the horns and, and even Linda singing along again at the end. But mostly it's a personal thing for me. It is those times. Every time I hear that, I'm right back there. I'm so glad I had a chance to grow up with it as a new song because it makes me feel so good. So that's number 2, and I caught myself. I'm not saying number 1 yet.
All right.
All right. So, okay. So, Tom,
Here we go.
this is the number 1. What we think our favorite, number 1 favorite, mind you, folks, favorite, not
Favorite.
necessarily best, maybe. Tom, what do you have for number 1?
Well, not only is this my favorite, but I do think that this is the best single, the best number 1 from the 4. Okay. And I wish I'm happy with my age. I'm happy with the year I was born. But for this particular song, I wish I was just a little bit older to experience, the airplay and the tour and the excitement of Paul coming to America in 1976, a number 1 single touring with the number 1 tour. I mean, sellout after sellout after sellout. Silly Love Songs is my number 1.
Yeah.
From this batch.
You did it for me.
You guys touched on a bunch of the stuff. Okay, baseline. people say that he lost his bass skills after the Beatles. I mean, he was still a very innovative bass player after the Beatles. Okay, the brass kit, you touched on that. I mean, I mean, it's just magical, just magical. The Denny, Linda, Paul simultaneously, the vocals that they do towards the end is just beautiful, pure magic. I love that it ends with, and what's wrong with that? I mean, I guess that's just a great way to end and to confront your critics. You know, what is wrong with
Yeah,
that?
what the hell's wrong
Tell
with it?
me.
Mhm.
Tell me
Yeah.
what's wrong with that.
And he says, I like to
Tell
know,
me.
then I need to know.
Right.
I-
Yeah.
And I like, if I could also, I always, is that a printing press at the beginning, that noise, the churning them out, that machine noise?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I always thought that was, like the idea that he's churning off and there's
I
like
thought
right
it-
out of the, like
Kind of like that,
assembly line.
or like a cash register.
Right.
That's what
or
I
a
thought.
railroad, or a rail, being, at a train station or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I
it's
just feel it has
sound
to have something to do with the idea of just pumping them out one after the other, kind of thing. I think
Churning them
But
out.
yeah,
that's what,
yeah,
but let's find
for
out
me,
sometime.
yeah,
Mhm.
this is a perfect single for Paul. It's, it's everything that Paul is. It's pure McCartney. It's melody. It's vocals. It's just production. It's awesome. Great song. Another song that you gotta stop what you're doing. It just takes me to, as Axl Rose sang, it takes me away to that special place.
Yeah.
That's
And I was
what-
there. I was there
Yeah.
too. Yes.
And that's what that song does for me. It's just, it's that stop what you're doing moment, and
What-
appreciate what the man did.
Well, I like when you say that's kind of special place thing, because it's like that's how I feel. And you didn't catch it, so it was popular, brand new, but
Right.
yet you still have a feeling it takes you to a place or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
All right. So Kit, you're up. Number one favorite.
Okay, well, my number one, actually, Tom said a lot of how I feel about it already, which is My Sweet Lord, George
Wow.
Harrison. I mean, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Somebody mentioned in the comments earlier something very astute, and it's true. They said it actually reminded him more of Edwin Hawkins' singer's "Oh Happy Day," and absolutely, George based it on that.
And George said
he-
that.
That's
Yes,
what George
yeah,
said.
he said that. He wanted to write something based on it. And it is, I mean, what can you say? It is just, the lyrics are they're simple but beautiful. And as you said, Ken, the Phil Spector production on it is perfect because you want it to have a big sound. I mean, this is his statement to higher power, and I love how he includes all different religions in it, so it can be to whatever power you want
Right.
want it to be. And as you guys talked about, I mean, how he layers his vocals, and I mean, this was a labor of love for him. You can hear it in every note, and the way it builds up, as you said, starting out with the acoustic guitar, the slide guitar, and then when the drums kick in. Oh, I mean, you feel it. You feel it right here.
Yeah, that's
don't you?
the moment.
I mean, every time you hear it. So it is one of those songs that does not have any fatigue factor for me at all. It's just an absolute masterpiece. So yeah, this was a no-brainer for me when I had trouble with other parts of the list, but I was like, number one, no problem. My
Great.
Sweet Lord.
Well, great choice. Great choice. All right, Ken, let's hear it. Number one.
All right. I just wanted to add to what Kid said. When you listen to the very beginning of My Sweet Lord, there's an ambiance there, and it just sucks you in. It's like I said before, it's an experience. It's not just, a great song.
It's
You
catching
bet.
lightning in a bottle. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is, that song. It is
Yeah.
a perfect a great record.
It is.
Okay. Well, my number one choice was Photograph. Now, I knew number one was going to be Photograph and number two was going to be My Sweet Lord. The rest is all up for grabs, really, because I never compared all these songs next to each other. But Photograph is the perfect Ringo song. And you've heard me praise how Ringo really changed his career around from Time Takes Time on, and there's so much great material that Ringo has done since then. But even with that, it's hard in his entire career to top Photograph. Photograph is a great song. Ringo wrote it with George. The whole arrangement is fantastic. When it first starts in with the piano part, it's so perfect. The way everything just works in that song and flows so well together. The flutes in there. I don't remember who it was that said this. Maybe it was you, Joe. The way that Ringo's vocals are mixed is just right. It's not buried. It's not all the way pushed to the front. It's just in the right spot.
Right.
And there's great orchestration behind it. It's not just a great song, but it's a great record from start to finish. And it's really tough to even top what he did on there. And I know you said this before, Kit, Richard Perry, the ideal producer for Ringo, especially at that time. He made it work. And in a way, I have said that Photograph does sound kind of Phil Spector-ish. It has a very full layered sound to it, which works in this song. It's just as perfect a record as you can possibly get. And between that and My Sweet Lord, and I love all the others here, the other 14, but I always look at Photograph as, the best solo Beatles single.
Oh, wow. That's
certainly
great.
The best of the number ones.
Yeah, I always wish It Don't Come Easy had made it to number one, because I mean, as much as I love Photograph, It Don't Come Easy is my favorite Ringo song of all, Beatles or solo.
Right.
And it has the same kind of qualities. Well, a Photograph, I like the way his voice is just right in that as well. Don't Come Easy as well.
Yeah, how did that not go to number one? I don't understand it. I agree.
Well,
that's another show here.
Yeah, that could be another topic. Yeah.
You could say that for Imagine as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a shame that didn't make it to number one somehow. But
And,
okay, right.
Live and Let Die, not going to number one. And Instant Karma didn't go to number one, and that deserved it.
Mind Games,
I think so. That didn't even go top 10.
Was it number 9?
No, 18.
Number 9.
18? Really?
Yeah.
Really that high? I mean, that low, I meant. I mean, high, low, high.
The album went top 10, but the single only went to 18.
Crazy.
Well, Joe, I think, before you go, I think we're all four of us are going to have different number ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because mine is none other than Uncle Albert. And again, Tom, I almost matched you. And Ken, I almost matched you. Because those were the ones that really I was struggling with. Uncle Albert, again, if we're going to talk about what's the best song on here, like the most technically proficient, the best, most greatest statement, it wouldn't be Uncle Albert. Well, although it's a triumph in, I don't know, just the different directions and sounds and feelings it gives you, that's what I like about it. I like the changes. I like it takes you on different zany places, different styles. I love the Hands Across the Water. That's my favorite thing about it. I love Linda. Again, Linda, you get a lot of praise from me. Okay, I love Linda in there. And Astros Jer says Jet did not go to number one either. Right, Kit? It should have gone to number one.
Should have. Absolutely.
Yeah, but Uncle Albert, again, I remember that as a child. It came on, and I love just how it starts. It starts with just singing it right away. And I love when I'm on the radio. A lot of times, because I listen to this AM station here, WHLI, they play great stuff, right?
I used to listen.
And I really hope they never go off anytime, because they play great stuff. And sometimes you're sitting there and you hear, "We're so sorry," and I'm like, "Yes, here it is." Turn it up. I don't care how many times I hear it. What can I say? It's crazy. It's different. It's weird. And I love every second of it all the time. The thunder and lightning, everything. I like the tone. It starts out kind of somber and sad, and then it starts getting to be some kind of other crazy thing. Love it. And as a child, it was always on the radio, and I associate my childhood with that song as well. Perfect for a 9-year-old. songs like Brand New Key and by
Oh, that was
Melanie.
the
And,
same time. Yep.
stuff like that. That kind of like if I was like
Oh,
19, 20, I might have been like, oh, what's going on with the music scene right now? But as a 9-year-old, Chicka Boom and things like that, they're perfect for a 9-year-old.
I still love Chicka Boom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah. I mean, any of those things. I grew up well as a child with Yummy, Yummy, Yummy and Chewy, Chewy and all that stuff. I mean, it's perfect. All right. Oh wow. So okay, so that's it. And
Wow.
it's a good job. I don't know. Look at Christian says Junior's Farm should have been number
Oh,
one.
I
Yes,
agree. Yep.
I agree.
I agree, Roy. Tom agrees. I'm sure of that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, that's my favorite McCartney single.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
You know that.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I say that too. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Another Day should have been a number one hit.
Yeah.
I think Hope and
Absolutely.
Deliverance should have been number one hit.
Mhm. I think
Yeah.
we got
well,
another show topic.
Yep.
should have been number one. All right. Well, let's see. Anything else we could think of before we start wrapping up here a little bit? I'm
Well,
looking for comments. But
we have should we do the big announcement?
yeah,
Yeah.
Kit. Let me hand it over to Kit right now. We want to talk a little bit about something important.
Yes, indeed. Well, I've been teasing this in the comments at various points during the show. So, as many of you know, coming up not this weekend but the following weekend, March 31st through April 2nd, the Fest for Beatles Fans. Yes, it's almost here, and it's going to be, of course, in Jersey City. And we'll be at the Hyatt Regency on the Hudson, and it's right around the corner. Now, the schedule of events is not available yet. It will be available Friday, March 24th. So you can check thefest.com. It'll be posted on that day. So we can't give you the exact time and location yet. But of course, when it's out, we will have it on our Facebook page. We'll have it on our website. So we will let you know that. But we can tell you what our panel is and who will be on it. So wish I had a drum roll sound effect here. So yeah, there you go. So we are really excited to tell you that this is going to be for the very first time. It's going to be the Fab Five. It's going to be the four of us and Ken Womack together. And this is particularly special because we will be celebrating, this will be our 5th year on the air. Believe it or not, 5 years since we've been doing Talk More Talk. So to have Ken with us, since he was one of the originals starting the show with us, will be really, really special. So it'll be all 5. And the topic, it was funny. I forget who mentioned. Oh, I think it was Tom. You mentioned 1973 earlier in the show. Well, funny you should mention that because that's going to be our topic. We are going to talk about the year 1973 and the Dream Solo Beatles year. And of course, 50th anniversary of that. So we're going to talk about why it was a significant year, and in the solo years, and also, if we have time, maybe talk about why. If there were other years in the Beatles solo era that were maybe just as important as 1973, and if you attend in person, you will receive a special commemorative 5th anniversary gift. So if you attend in person, you will receive that. Now, this may be streamed if you are attending virtually. This may be streamed on the website. I don't know. There are fuzzy details about this, but don't worry because we will be recording this. So you will see this and hear it if you're listening to the podcast at a later date. So we will be recording this. So we're very excited about it. The Fab Five. For the Fab Five, all 5 of us. And we should also add, this will be Joe's debut as a Fest panelist. I'm so
As
excited.
what?
Woohoo.
You went out just at the time you said it. Yeah.
So
As
we
a
are
panelist.
super excited. We really hope that we'll be seeing you live, online, wherever you will be.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, that's that. All right. Thank you, Kit. And I guess this is when we can talk about, where to find us and what we're up to. So, well, you've already talked a lot, Kit, but if you're not too tired and your voice is okay,
Oh, hell yeah.
go ahead. Tell us where to find where to find us.
Okay, well, first of all, of course, you can find us right here on our YouTube channel. As the kids say, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and tell your friends. You can also find us on our website, talkmoretalk.com. You can follow us on Twitter, talkmoretalk1, that's the number 1. And of course, you can always email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. We're always up for feedback and suggestions for future shows. You might have some ideas and that you might just see on future episodes. You can also find us on Facebook. And as I said, we will post the schedule as soon as we have it. And you can also find us on virtually any podcasting platform you can think of. So I think that's everything there. As far as I go, enrollment is still open for my next class, Roots of Rock and Roll, Part 4, where I'm talking about international influences on rock. And as I've said, we'll be taking a trip through 3 different countries, and you don't even need a passport. So I have the link up on our Talk More Talk Facebook page, as well as my own. So just go over there. Class starts April 13th. So if you want to register, I definitely recommend you do that soon. As far as Toppermost of the Poppermost goes, the March episode will drop very soon. We have a new website, which I have also posted a link to on Talk More Talk. And at the Fest, I will have Toppermost of the Poppermost t-shirts available at my table. So if you'd like to buy a t-shirt, just come see me at my author table. They're really cute. Not so cute. I mean, guys and gals can wear them. They're not that cute. A guy can't wear them. They're just adorable, but they really are fun. Wait till you see them. So hope to see you at the Fest. I'll be at my author table. I'll be doing panels, of course, in addition to our own. So looking forward to seeing you there.
All right. Thanks, Kit. Well, I'm going to go next because I never have as much to say as Tom and Ken's, so I'll just get mine over with out of the way. My channel on YouTube, you know it, Mean Mr. Mayo. I also have a movie channel called Mayo's Marquee where I discuss movie stuff. I'll be doing a live chat over there on the movies with Tom Hunyadi and some others. And that'll be, I don't know what time this is going to be up, but that'll be I usually do them Tuesday nights around 7:30 p.m. Eastern over at my Mayo's Marquee. But over at my Mean Mr. Mayo channel, I just did a Fab Gab show that's got a lot of comments. It's pretty popular. It's called The Marginalizing of John Lennon, as I put it. Just my thoughts along with Matthew Street. We just discuss why we feel, these days, John's kind of getting the shorter end of the stick, so to speak. That's just our opinions, and why we feel that sometimes the pendulum swings one way or the other. Why we thought that Paul, after John's death, was getting unfairly the short end of the stick, and now it seems to have bounced around. Also, I'm going to be doing a show, Ken Michaels, on the Ken Michaels radio show. He's going to do his Ultimate Beatles trivia, and I'm going to be a guest on there coming up. Pretty soon it'll air. I'm not going to give too much away, but I do have to say, it's getting tiring, doing these quiz shows. If I do say so myself, this is going to be my 3rd one for the trivia, and I'm looking forward to meeting the challengers. So,
wow,
that's Ken Michaels Radio will be up Probably sometime, I'm guessing, Ken, later. By the time the week is out or something.
It
Could be anytime.
probably will be up Wednesday night, if not Thursday. The
All
newest one.
right. All right. So that's
Fine.
me done. And I'll take it to Tom now. Tom, go
All
to it.
right. Well, as Ken said earlier in the show, we interviewed Joan Borelli, who was at that the Music of Paul McCartney event that was at Carnegie Hall last week, and she had a great time. So go over to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast on their YouTube channel, and please subscribe. And you can check out all our videos if you like it. If you don't, that's fine too. But just check it out and let us know what you think. We just finished our March Macca Madness bracket, and there it is. And this past Sunday, we did the last 3 rounds, and that was episode 199. Now that means the next episode, which is coming up this Sunday, is going to be episode 200, which is still kind of blowing my mind that we did 200 of these things. But we'll be live Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to have some friends there, some surprises. Maybe we'll see maybe you'll see these 3 people up there for a couple minutes. And but we're looking forward to it. We're just going to be talking about past episodes and the good times that we've had doing this. And obviously with my cousin David, who I started the show with, hopefully he'll have to find time to make it there as well. Book wise, and we also had Luca Perazzi on late last year, talking about Paul McCartney, Music is Ideas. He'll be back on the show to talk about the book more in depth. And if you're looking for a brand new book that just came out, I'd say take a look at this. This is called 4 Sides of the Circle, and it's all about the first 5 years of the solo Beatles, so 70 to 1974. It's by Terry Wilson, and actually we're trying to get him on the show, so hopefully that'll happen as well. So a lot going on for Two Legs. So again, please head over to our YouTube channel, Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, and check it out.
All right. Now, Ken, you're on the air.
Thank you, Joe. On my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels Radio, as Joe was talking about, I've been in a real trivia mood lately. So I started doing what I call the Ultimate Beatles Trivia Show, and I've done 2 so far. And Joe has been in both, and he's going to be in the new one that we're recording this week. Darren DeVivo from Things We Said Today will be one of the contestants. And another host of a Beatles YouTube channel, Canadian Stud Muffin, will also be joining us for that. They go by pretty quickly. In the Beatles tradition, I like to have 9 questions or games, and it wraps up in less than half an hour. And it's a combination of lots of trivia questions and games about the group and the solo careers of the Beatles. And it's fun just to watch, participate, see how well you do. But that'll be coming up sometime this week. I'm also going to be interviewing Luca Perazzi as well, as I have a copy of his new book, so plenty of Luca to go around. On Things We Said Today, my other podcast, do I have it here? Yes, I do. We just did a show with Albert Glinsky, who is the author of this brand new book called Switched On, Bob Moog and the Synthesizer Revolution. It's all about the history of the Moog, and that is how you pronounce it, not Moog, it's Moog. And Albert knows all about it and the Beatles' use of the Moog, especially on the Abbey Road album, what was used in the solo careers of the Beatles, the problem that George Harrison had with electronic sound, kind of borrowing a recording that was made by another person twiddling around on the Moog and putting it out as one side of electronic sound. We go into that in detail on the show. He was a great guest to have, really good book to read. Our next show, which we're recording next Monday, will be a 60th anniversary for the Beatles' Please Please Me album, which, as I said, is this Wednesday. 60 years ago this Wednesday, Beatles' very first album in the UK comes out. On Every Little Thing, my radio show, which celebrates its 41st anniversary this coming Friday, you can listen to it on demand on WFDU's website, WFDU.FM, where they archive the show for 2 weeks. And I just recorded a brand new Every Little Thing show, which will be premiering next week on some of my radio stations. And, you know, we've heard of Paul's band of the 70s, which was called Paul McCartney and Wings. Well, I did a thematic set called Paul McCartney and Strings. It's just Paul with orchestration, songs from the Beatles and his solo career where he's backed by an orchestra or a violin or cello, you name it. And also on my website, which is kenmichaelsradio.com, Beatles trivia every single week. And I want to mention a few things. First of all, let me see here. I've got this to give away from Bill Leary, one of our actual listeners. He sent me a Blu-ray of Get Back to give away.
Oh,
I only have
wow.
one copy of it. It's part of my weekly Beatles trivia, and there'll be a new game or trivia question tonight. Might I do something about the Please Please Me album? Very likely with the 60th anniversary. And I'm also giving away Chris Englehart's new book, Fully Uncovered, which we have right here. I just did an interview about a month ago with Colin Hall, who's the author of the songs the Beatles gave away. It's a very lengthy interview on my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels Radio. I got one copy of this book to give away. So a lot of new stuff, as well as the McCartney Legacy. I still have copies of that to give away as well. Go to kenmichaelsradio.com, click on the Beatles Trivia and Games page, and you could win. There's a winner every single week. So that's about everything, I think.
All
That should be
right.
enough.
And we're
All
just
right.
about under 2 hours. So thanks, everybody. This was a lot of fun. Hope you had fun. And for Kid O'Toole, Tom Hunyadi, Ken Michaels, this is Joe Mayo saying we'll see you all at the Fest for Beatles Fans, where a splendid time is guaranteed for all.